Honestly, I want to go back to making content like this because I genuinely just enjoy making content more like this on this channel. So this is what you guys get. And for anybody else that's been around for a while, I appreciate you still sticking. But I wanted to talk about this short little conversation that I had with a friend of mine. It's around solo leveling and how many of us can become vessels for something stronger than ourselves. And there's going to be spoilers from solo leveling, so if you haven't read the manga, recommend clicking off of this, but it's more just like analogies, but you might not be able to understand the analogy fully. Plus, it does kind of spoil a little bit of it as well, too, so I just want to give you that as a heads up before I jump too much into it. So throughout the webtoon, because I read the whole webtoon, at least the first two webtoons before the whole reset, which if you guys know about that, you know about that. But the whole reason with why Jinwoo, and this is what I was talking to my friend about the other day, is because we all want to become vessels. At least I want to become a vessel. I want to become somebody that was like strong. I didn't want to be the weakest character, kind of like Jinwoo was, where it's just like he was inferior. He was a level E rank. He didn't have really any powers. He was known as like the weakest hero, and he was going in the dungeons, and people were like, oh yeah, that's Jinwoo. He's the weakest hero. And I never wanted to be like that. I was like that at one point. Maybe not consciously, maybe unconsciously. Maybe I was the only one that was thinking those things. I probably was the only one that was thinking those things because other people thought that I was stronger, but the reason for me having those things in the first place was because somebody wanted me to think and behave in certain ways, which maybe you have people like that as well too. So what happened was Jinwoo was able to become stronger because he had the courage to stay back in dungeon and be able to get the levels from basically the Shadow of the Monarchs. And from him getting the Shadow of the Monarchs game plan, he was able to enhance his body, enhance his skills, and enhance his strength so that he could become a strong vessel for something outside of himself to be able to come into him and take over control of him. I know this might sound a little crazy, and if it does, so be it, whatever. I don't really care. Because this is just what I find interesting and fascinating, because maybe you are on a path of spiritual awakening, maybe you're on a path of overcoming trials or tribulations or whatever it may be, and you're training right now, you aren't seeing progress, you aren't seeing the growth, you aren't seeing the things that you want to be seeing, and you're like, why is this not working for me? Because you see all these other people, you see all these other things, you see movies, TV shows, animes, characters level up so quickly, but like that's the great part about TV and movies. It's like time just happens in different ways. It still happens here as well too, and why you have to train and show up every single day and put in your reps. There's no guarantee that it's going to amount to anything. Like Jinwoo and solo leveling, he never expected that he was going to be able to become the vessel of like the Shadow of the Monarchs, but that was the exact thing that happened, and you can see that in the thumbnail with what I ended up using, because that's just how it is. Like, he could have gone into this dream world and let his body, his person, his essence be just taken control of, and he could have lived like the most perfect ideal life, but that wasn't the life that he wanted to live. He wanted to still be himself with the powers of a god. So that's exactly what he did. He trained his body to be able to become a strong vessel so that he could withstand the power of a god, because all the other times when they tried to attempt this within the series prior there was failures. Like the vessel couldn't completely hold the person that it was like attached to, and the vessel would end up like breaking and destroying itself because it didn't have the strength or the training or the time over like the period of time, kind of like video games. Is why solo leveling is so cool, is because each time you level up, you get a little bit stronger, you get a little bit stronger, you get a little bit stronger. You might not necessarily see it, but then all of a sudden, like, there's nobody that's able to compete against you because you're so strong. And I find that really cool. So that's why within like solo leveling, Jinwoo, he's like, I don't want to stay in this dream world. Like, this is the last place that I want to be. He's like, I want to go back into the real world. And that's when the Shadow of the Monarch is like, are you sure that that's what you want to do? He's like, yeah, I want to go and actually live my life. I don't want to be in this illusion that you created to make me feel happy. And this is the thing that a lot of us are trapped in, and what I'm hoping maybe is getting you out of this is like, you don't have to be trapped in the dream world any longer. You can wake up to your true nature, to your true essence, to your true being that is more of who you are, because you have put in the work, you have climbed the mountains, you have done the runs, you have gone to the gym, you have lifted the weights, you have watched the shows, you have passed all the tests, you have shown up in every way that you possibly can. And from doing so, you've made tremendous amounts of progress. You might not know the progress that you see right now, but like if you look back 5 years, 10 years, with all the journaling and all the meditation, all the previous videos that you've done, you look back at that and it's like, wow, I have progressed. And if you haven't started doing that, I highly recommend you doing that right now. But I know that you have made the progress that you need to be able to be in this place right now, to be able to be hearing my words and understanding this analogy that I'm talking about. So that's the great part, because you have leveled up like your favorite character. You have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have the expertise, you have the strength, you have everything that you need. You don't have to wait for anybody else. Nobody's going to come save you. You've saved yourself countless times over and over and over and over and over again. You've climbed mountains by yourself. You've put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You've fasted. You've climbed these hills. You've overcome these challenges. You've meditated. You've sacrificed things that you love in the process to become better. You've let go of certain aspects of yourself that you didn't think that you could ever let go of because you knew that it was for the greater good. You knew that it was, maybe you didn't necessarily know, but you knew, like you did know that you were doing it for some reason. You don't know the reason, but you're just like, you just showed up, you meditated, you went on your hikes, you self-analyzed yourself, you looked at yourself in the mirror every single day, and you analyzed yourself over and over and over again. You replayed conversations in your head over and over and over again, so you could be in the place to where you would be strong enough to be able to overcome any enemy and be the vessel for the God that is within you right now. It's crazy, because if you didn't do that, like, you don't get to decide when that happens. You don't. You just don't. And I'm telling you that right now. You don't decide when it happens. It happens when it's meant to happen. When it happens, it happens. And that's just how it is. But you have to be strong enough to be able to be in that position in the first place. And if you aren't training, if you aren't working, if you aren't trying, you're not going to be strong enough for when the opportunity does rise. And it's going to, the vessel, the shadow of the monarchs, whoever it is that wants to come in and like help you out and give you its powers, it's going to be like, oh, your vessel's weak. You're fat. You're sloppy. You're lazy. You don't do anything. It's going to be like, I don't want to be a vessel in this. I'm going to go somewhere else. So, and then it goes somewhere else to somebody else. And then you have another opportunity and another opportunity and another opportunity. Like, your opportunities never pass, because whatever you want, it's seeking you just as much as you're seeking it. So it's just like, you have to show up. And if you don't show up, you have to show up. You just got to show up. That's all it is. You just got to show up. I'm not going to sugarcoat it any other way. You just got to show up. You got to do the work. You got to be true. You got to do it. You got to go for the runs. You got to go for the walks. You got to go for the bike rides, which I know you're doing it already. So I'm not worried about you. This is more for other people. You've done so much. You've done so much. And it's your choice. You can stay in the dream world, or you can be like Jin Woo. You don't need to be in the illusion. You've already faced all your demons. You've overcome everything that you've needed to overcome, which means you're ready. You're ready for the power. So take it.